Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. The Supreme Court has upheld a federal gun control law that's intended to protect domestic violence victims. The justices ruled 8-1 today in favor of a 1994 ban on firearms for people under restraining orders to stay away from their spouses or partners. The justices reversed a ruling from a federal appeals court in New Orleans that had struck down the law. The case involved a Texas man accused of hitting his girlfriend and threatening to shoot her. It's the justices' first Second Amendment case since they expanded gun rights in 2022. Gun control advocates are hailing the move. Every Town for Gun Safety said on social media the fact the court sided against gun rights extremists today is a huge win for gun safety and survivors all across the country. But we should not have been here in the first place, Every Town said. A new global poll finds the vast majority of people worldwide are eager to see climate action. The United Nations Development Program and Oxford University conducted the 2024 People's Climate Vote Survey, polling 73,000 people across the world in 77 nations, including 19 of the world's least developed ones. Casey Flynn is the United Nations Global Director on Climate Change.
The message is clear. There's a huge majority, 80%, of people want countries to strengthen their commitment on the climate crisis.
She said half respondents said they think about the climate crisis on a daily or weekly basis. 2/3 take the climate crisis into consideration when making decisions in their daily life. And 72% want a move away from fossil fuels, while 8 out of 10 would like better protections from extreme weather.
When it's you and you are seeing this drought or this flood outside your front door, when you are breathing the smoke of a wildfire, all of a sudden your choices change. And I think we saw that really reflected in the data.
4 in 5 respondents say they want countries to protect and restore nature as more and more people are being impacted by climate change. A heat dome is moving closer to the breaking point from the U.S. Midwest to New England. There's no immediate relief in sight, though, for much of the country. The National Weather Service says the heat and humidity could send heat index readings above 100 degrees in many locations, possibly breaking all-time records. The Weather Service also predicts another scorching weekend with triple-digit highs in California and Arizona. India's health ministry says there's been at least 110 heat stroke deaths this year due to heat waves. The World Health Organization is warning summer heat is worsening, and that could lead to a massive public health crisis in Gaza due to the lack of clean water, food, and medical supplies. Dr. Richard Pieperkorn is the WHO's representative for Gaza and the West Bank.
We have water contamination because of hot water, and we will have much more food spoilage because of the high temperature. We will get insect, mosquitoes, and flies, but also dehydration, heat stroke, etc. In combination already with the incredibly poor water and sanitation circumstances, we have seen already more than 25 times as much diarrhea as normal. We see a huge number of people with hepatitis A.
He also said 17 of 36 hospitals are barely functioning and called for Israel to open the Rafah border crossing so they could transfer thousands of patients who need care Gaza hospitals can no longer provide. Armenia today said it will recognize a Palestinian state, making it the latest European nation to do so following Ireland, Norway, and Spain's recognition last month. The charges against dozens of anti-war activists who occupied a Columbia University building in April were dropped Thursday. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg dropped the charges against 30 students and staff members at Columbia who were arrested, citing insufficient evidence against them. The Biden administration is advancing its plan to restrict logging within old-growth forests on federal lands that are increasingly threatened by climate change. A government analysis shows exceptions will be made for cutting old trees in order to make forests less susceptible to wildfires. Redwood old growth are more fire resilient, create cooler climates, and are habitat for endangered species. The federal government has launched a 90-day public comment period. Officials intend to reject a blanket prohibition on old-growth logging that's been widely sought by some environmental groups. The Sierra Club called the move a positive first step. Independent Senator Bernie Sanders is calling on legislation that would increase teacher pay in the U.S. Christopher Martinez reports.
Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont sees low pay as being at the heart of challenges facing public schools.
There is, in fact, nothing more important that we can do than provide a quality education to all of our young people. And yet, for decades, public school teachers have been overworked, underpaid, understaffed, and maybe most importantly, underappreciated.
Sanders reviewed some grim statistics about things like teacher turnover. 44% of teachers leave their job in their first 5 years, and nearly 10% of teaching positions are left vacant or filled by teachers not fully certified. Sanders presented his proposal, the Pay Teachers Act. It would pay teachers what he calls decent wages and benefits, and he adds it's not a very radical or controversial concept.
This bill would make sure that no teacher in America is paid less than $60,000 a year.
Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
And I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.